Hello, everybody, and welcome to a brand new episode of You've Got to Hear This.
Until I woke is gonna love that intro.
I hope so. I sure hope so. We've
It's
got
his favorite brand new song.
oh man, that would really be ideal for Until I Woke. Did we get some good comments from last week, Mike, or are you just referencing Until I Woke as you like to do in general?
No, I don't know if we got a lot of good comments, but I did see Joe gets a lot of activity on his Facebook page regarding our episodes, and I saw somebody mention the Angus soundtrack, and I think we had a guy.
Oh man.
We had a guy mention the Angus soundtrack on, I think, our YouTube page. So I'm not familiar with that soundtrack. So I went
thought that
back.
was a joke.
No,
I don't think it is.
It's really good. It's crazy. I'm gonna look it up right now. Are you familiar with it, Joe? Because I am
familiar with
vaguely
Angus. I remember watching it. I don't remember the soundtrack. I remember loving the movie.
Yeah, while you're looking it up, I'll say I am also not familiar with the soundtrack, but because everybody was posting about it, I felt like it must have been a significant enough moment in people's lives that I keep seeing people post about. So I went back and I listened to it, and I really enjoyed it. Enjoyed it. I saw that it came out like in the mid 90s, which was my favorite time for music, but also my favorite time for existing. So I thought that was a perfect combination. And I listened to it this morning, and I really enjoyed it. There's a fantastic Green Day song, but the thing that really stood out to me is, you know what I really like is early Goo Goo Dolls. Early Goo Goo Dolls, before they went really pop, they had a very different sound that I really enjoyed. They had a song on the Angus soundtrack, but they also had a song on Nightmare on Elm Street 6, which I really enjoyed as well. But yeah, early Goo Goo Dolls, man. It's like the Sugar Ray phenomenon. Like, you guys remember when Sugar Ray first came out? It was really, really, really punk. And then they went really, really, really pop. And if you go back and you listen to their older stuff, you're like, wow, this doesn't even sound like the same band. But
Goo Goo Dolls, the first record, to me sounds like the Replacements. It's more straightforward than the Replacement songs. I'd say it's more like punk than some of the later Replacement songs, but I gotta disagree. I like Goo Goo Dolls as they got more popular and were writing bigger and like hit songs, like alternative rock hit songs. But I went through early Goo Goo Dolls, and there was maybe 2 songs I really liked, but yeah, it's just like when I listen to the Replacements and then I listen to that album, which sounds so much like them, I just don't have. It's not for me. This is just for me, in my dumb opinion. It's not as memorable as a Replacements record, but it still satisfies that sound, that crunchy punk rock sound.
The only Google Dolls song that matters is Iris.
I don't hate Iris.
Yeah,
it's my favorite song. It's my guilty pleasure song.
Is it really?
Is that
every time it comes on, I do not shut it off because I love it so much.
It's a great song.
Is that the I Don't Want the World to See Me song? Yeah.
Yeah.
No, I think that's Collective Soul, isn't it?
No.
Oh, is that? Okay, no. Sorry.
Meg Ryan on the handlebars in the music video.
I know my mid-90s commercial rock.
All right.
Brendan brought up a good point for last week's episode. He was shocked that nobody said Purple Rain's movie soundtrack, because Purple Rain's movie soundtrack was the album Purple Rain.
Yeah. But I mean, so we talked about this a little bit in the text message, but I don't know how, if we didn't define the topic maybe when we did the show, but I did feel like we all kind of agreed it was more like about the theme music, sort of the score more than something where someone wrote a bunch of songs. But I don't know how well we defined it, and so I mean that Prince Purple Rain album, obviously, if you're talking about the soundtrack to a movie, it's tough to compete with that. Unless you're talking about Prince's soundtrack to the 1989's Batman movie. Then you've got
which has
bad either.
Literally Bat Dance, which I think you might kind of consider a throwaway song, but it has literally my favorite lyric of all time, which is, if a man is considered guilty for what goes on in his mind, give me the electric chair for all my future crimes. That's my single greatest lyric of all time ever. From
Wow.
Bat Dance, which is a throwaway song. So
Wow.
there you go.
Great song.
Yeah.
Man.
And then my second favorite lyric of all time is, "Hey Jackie, put the 7-inch in the computer," which is also from Bat Dance.
Is that really?
Yeah, it is. Yeah, it is.
Oh man.
Yeah.
Is the computer code for something?
I don't know. It's not really my second favorite lyric of all time. I thought that might be a funny joke to say, but
I always figure any Prince lyric has something to do with sex if I don't know it.
Yeah.
Raspberry Beret, I don't know. Is that about sex? Maybe. I don't know.
I don't know.
It's hard to say.
I took my first, well, I mean, we're still in a pandemic. I was gonna say post-pandemic, but we're good still. I took my first post-vaccination flight this week.
Yeah, you went to New York.
Went to the Big Apple.
Oh, wow. So
I went to the island that is very long, Long
Yeah.
Island. I want to show you guys these because these are great. Delta does in-cabin service now too, and they have these great little tip tops, little canned old fashions and margaritas.
no way.
Wow.
You have
And,
canned margaritas?
Did you take it home with you?
She gave me some to take home.
Huh.
I do this thing whenever I go on flights. I get like a $5 gift card or two, and I give them to the flight attendants when I get on the plane because they work hard and they deserve little treats like that.
Wow. What a nice guy you are.
It worked out when I went to Europe last year. I did that, and they gave me a bottle of champagne when I got off the plane.
Look at
Kicked
you.
off my Amsterdam trip real good.
That's awesome.
Man, that's good thinking. I mean, even if you're not just trying to be nice, that's a good way to suck up to the flight attendants.
Yeah.
They put up with a lot of shit, a lot of shitheads.
Oh yeah.
So
Yeah.
it's nice, and they're always very appreciative. But yeah, this little canned old fashioned, Mike, I took it in the
Love
can.
that.
It was really delicious.
That's my favorite joke. My favorite joke of any movie is in National Lampoon's European Vacation when Chevy Chase is on the plane with his family and a flight attendant comes up to him and says, "Can I get you anything to drink?" And he goes, "Yeah, I'll have a Coke." And she goes, "Would you like it in the can?" And he goes, "No, I'll have it here." One of my favorite jokes.
It's so great.
That's incredible.
He delivers it better than I do, but it's
have it
one
here.
of my favorite jokes of all time. That's
And
awesome.
So I was in in the front, I could see the pilots, and then there was a younger guy like our age, he was a pilot. And I love the dedication of pilots, and also after this past week, policemen. They just stick with the mustache and the aviators look. They just, as soon as they become a pilot, they're like, all right, I have to do this.
You
I have
have
to have
to.
a mustache and aviators, and they do it and they commit to it.
Yeah.
So good.
I don't know if it's like an unwritten rule or if you get looked down upon in the pilot world if you don't do it, but I respect it because you see that and you're like, he knows what he's doing. I feel safe.
Yeah, it's sort of like a uniform. It's like
Mhm.
a facial hair uniform and and glasses. I mean, I'm halfway there.
Yeah.
I could be a
If you were
pilot.
wearing aviators right now, I would consider you a pilot.
If our plane was going down and we needed someone to jump on the controls, John is absolutely the first pick in this group.
Yeah. Even though I've never flown, I feel like everyone would trust me a lot more just because of the way I look with this
Right.
mustache.
Just yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
That's all. That's all I
That's
got.
all. All right. Well,
Oh, and I have one more hot take.
Oh.
Hot take. After listening to music this week, I think that Plans by Death Cab for Cutie is the exact same album as August and Everything After by Counting Crows.
really?
Yeah. That's all I
Why?
got.
Wow.
We don't have to talk about it. I just think
I'd have to do some research to get back to you on that.
yeah. I
You
just
may be
think
right.
that
I don't know.
if you're listening to this, you can leave a note in the comments. But I think Plans by Death Cab for Cutie is the exact same album as August and Everything After by the
Wow.
Counting Crows.
Huh.
Interesting.
Interesting take.
I did enjoy the new Manchester Orchestra album this week.
Yeah, you told me about that.
Yeah,
I didn't get a chance to listen to it. It was really good.
Yeah, it was
really good.
much more. It grabbed me a little more than the last couple of albums.
I feel like they've never put out a bad album or anything even close to bad. Like they're just such a consistently good band. It's amazing to me.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I was really impressed with it.
Oh, I've got to check that out. That's awesome.
Yeah,
they're one of those bands I am just consistently impressed with for, I don't know, we're probably talking about like over a decade now, just consistently great music. So gotta listen to that new one. All right, let's get into our topic. We picked a topic this week, and it's make an album perfect by removing a song. And I think that, Joe, this was your idea, and I really like it because that is a thing that happens a lot. And there'll be this album where there's just one song that is just surprisingly off. And I think we could open up a little bit to maybe, you could do one or two songs if you need to. I feel like anything more than two songs, then you're getting into just sort of like changing the album up maybe too much. But I'd give it a couple of songs maybe. But it's an interesting concept, and I want to see what you guys thought about it.
I got to give Nick Kaffer on Facebook credit for it. So he said, cut a great record into a perfect EP. And we kind of spun that into, what would be a perfect record by cutting a song or two. So Nick's the one that came up with it, pretty much the basis of the idea. But
Thanks, Nick.
Thanks, Nick Kaffer. You sound like a cool guy. I would hang out with you.
And I look like shit right now. I got the second COVID shot, so I'm just going through the rough patch of that. So I apologize.
You're not on the quill like Greg was, though, right?
I'm not on NyQuil. I'm on Liquid IV, drinking a lot of Liquid IV.
What is Liquid IV?
It's basically like a super Gatorade.
Okay.
Yeah.
And if I can add to that, you look exactly the same as you've looked in every episode physically.
Thank you.
That's true.
I'm trying to get a little bit more with it today because like Seamus has been commenting that I'm not as into it the past few episodes.
Well, you haven't been. You've been fairly lethargic for the last three, but this one, you've gotten 3 genuine laughs out of me in the last 10 minutes, which is hard to do. So
I'm in peak wedding season. That's my excuse. So peak wedding season means I work a lot more on the weekend. So by the time this thing comes around,
Greg has a lot of wives. We should emphasize Greg has a lot of wives.
Mm-hmm.
Getting married constantly.
Sure.
Every weekend. Just every weekend. New chick.
Usually around this time of year.
Yep. So
that was funny. Yeah. Anyway.
Yes, I manage a wedding venue, so it's peak season for us. I'm making dreams come true left and right.
Uh-huh. And risking your life while you do it.
And risking my life from drunk fathers of the brides that try to run me over with their car.
He's not joking.
I wish I was. Anywho. So
all right, what do you
that's
got?
why, like the past 2 weeks, I was exhausted and completely out of it. And I was beyond bummed that last week's episode went so long.
Sorry.
But I toughed it out. And I thought I did good. And then Seamus called me out on it. So Seamus, I'm with it today. I'm going to be here. I'm going to listen. I'm going to laugh. I'm going to make Mike Baby laugh.
Mission accomplished.
Yeah.
From my perspective, though, a lot of times we got 4 people talking, sometimes 5. It's not always bad if somebody is just kind of laying low a little bit because it's tough to navigate all these people trying to talk. So I've never felt that like there's any problem if you feel a little lethargic and want to stay a little quieter and low key.
Yeah, look at Joe. He's going to do that today.
Well, speak for yourself, John.
I know.
Go on, Joe.
Thank you. So
sorry, go ahead. I thought
This
that was,
album came out July 10th, 2001. It's 33 minutes and 33 seconds long. It's this band's third studio album. I was 14 years old and I was in 8th grade when it came out. It came out around the exact same year as Alkaline Trio, From Here to the Infirmary, Jimmy Eat World, Bleed American, and Thursday's Full Collapse. This album is Saves the Days, Stay What You Are. It's their third record. It's my favorite record by the band. I feel like this, when we came up with the topic, this was the first album that popped into my head. I didn't really have to think about it. It was influenced by the Beatles and Sunny Day Real Estate and a near-death experience in a van accident. Genre is post-punk, emo, post-grunge. I think it's the band's best release. I think Saves the Day fans agree this is their best album, and some other fans would say it's Through Being Cool. But yeah, this album made me want to sing in a band. It got me off of liking nu metal. I threw away my nu metal records when I heard this record. Like, I was very dramatic as a kid. I was like,
wait, literally? You
yeah,
literally did that?
Yeah, I threw away all my nu metal records. I didn't keep any of them. Maybe System of a Down I kept, but like Toxicity, I think.
Hold on, I'm sorry to interrupt. I know you just got your second. I know you got your second dose, and you're a little bit out of it. So you literally listened to an album,
Yeah,
and then went to your record shelf, grabbed albums of a different genre, and put them in the garbage can.
Put them in a trash compactor. Yeah.
Okay.
I was like, this is.
I have no further questions.
This is what I've been. I was basically like, this is what I was looking for this whole time. This is the genre I was looking for.
Mm-hmm. I'm done with this portion of my life. I'm going to take this road now.
Yeah.
I get that. I think that makes perfect sense, really.
Mm-hmm.
Yep. I was at that time.
Okay. I'm clearly outvoted here. Like, I didn't expect John to say that makes perfect sense, but go on.
So yeah, the song that I would remove from this album is the third track. It's called Cars and Calories. So I would take the record from 33 minutes and 33 seconds long and bump it down to 30 minutes and 48 seconds long. The reason I would remove this track is it has some incredible parts in it, but the verses I don't like. It's my least favorite part of the entire album. The verse melodies, and especially the guitar riff, is just very repetitive. It's just like a womp, 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 like the whole time. And I just remember hearing it back then and being like, yeah, I could skip this one, and I skip it. And yeah, I think and I wanted to keep my pick positive. I didn't want to rip apart an album that I loved by removing multiple songs. So I think this album, for the genre and for its fan base, is like a 95, 97%. Like, if you're going to grade it, and if you remove, in my opinion, Cars and Calories, it's easily 100%. Like, A++ album.
Wow.
Yeah.
Damn, man, that's surprising. I just was looking through the track list for that, and that particular song, it never like struck me as out of place or less than any of the other ones.
So just for me, this is why I understand that some people love the song, might be their favorite song. So this is more of like, make a perfect record for me, and like that whole playlist feel of like making your own playlist, you're making your own mixtape. This is the only one for me that I feel like the verses, it's just the verses too. I feel like if there was something else written in those verses, I wouldn't be my pick.
Is it more about the lyrics or the melody or both or what?
It's mostly the guitar. It's like good. Not a fan of Good Charlotte, and
there is that kind of like gent,
yeah,
okay.
like Psycho, like the shower scene from Psycho. And I just feel like the album is just so magical overall. They really hit something on this record, and that's the only song I'd remove. And I love this record. It's my favorite one. People definitely disagree, which is fine, but yeah, I wanted to pick. And then it's probably one of the most important records for me, from any band that I've like got to tour with and stuff like that. Like, this was a really meaningful album, and yeah, that's really it. That's all I wrote. I didn't write too much because I've been in bed the entire day.
What was the album in the band?
Stay What You Are by Saves the Day. Came out July 10th, 2001.
And have you toured with that band?
Yes.
Oh, nice. Have you ever mentioned to anybody in that band that?
No way.
No.
I got to do sound check with them, and that was like unbelievable because like that it all came full circle. Like this was the album, and it was a song off of this album. I let me see which one it was. I want to say it was "See You," the second song on this record. I think that was the one that I got to sing on sound check with them.
That's awesome.
And it was just such a beautiful tour, very inspiring for me and the rest of the band. And yeah, there's nothing but good memories on that tour. And yeah, that's really it. Full circle, very, very starstruck for sure. I feel like when you tour with certain bands or you meet certain people, it's like, it's a really big deal. Like your 14-year-old self comes back. And this was like one of those moments for me was when Transit got to tour at Saves the Day. It's amazing. So yeah, that's really it. Love this record. It's an A+ either way, with the song or without the song. But yep, that's my pick.
Yeah.
Joe, I have a question for you, sort of a follow-up, and I guess John can chime in as well. Have you ever had an album where you thought that I don't know the terminology, but maybe the arrangement was perfect. And then I don't know if it's the record company or whoever said, we need to add this song to this album. And you said in your head, if we do that, it won't be as good of an album, but we're going to do it because the label said we have to do it. And it decreased the quality of your album.
For one of mine, or like a band I listen to? For a band I listen to?
No, for you personally. Has that ever happened to you personally?
Well, there's definitely some songs by the band that I would have skipped. I mean, I wrote the majority of the lyrics and the songs, and then there was a record where I got kind of put in the back seat where I was editing and updating someone else's songs in the band, and it was really hard to connect with those songs live because it really wasn't my story. It was me trying to make a story out of someone else's story. So yeah, that definitely has happened. That was on Young New England, and some people, that's their favorite record by Transit, and there's some songs on that record that are my favorite songs by us as a band. But yeah, I would say that album for me, I compared to the other albums, is more written as a group, less written from the band writing the music and then me doing my thing and then us coming together. So it was a different writing process. So I would say that record.
That's awesome. Sorry, this is my last question. This is so fascinating to me. Who determines the song order on an album? Is that the band or is that the record company?
We do it exactly like a mixtape, at least for us. We just listen to the songs, we listen to the beginnings and the ends, and we talked about this in a very early episode of the podcast, but we piece together the ends, the beginning and the ends. And if you make enough, like I make a lot of playlists for people if they message me online. I'll make them like a mixtape or a playlist or whatever, because it's really fun. And I've been doing it since I was 15 or 16. And if you do that, you get really good, or it just becomes really natural to pick which song goes when. But yeah, that's the best way to practice, is just making mixtapes and making playlists.
This made me think of the most I've ever had like record label interaction with the band was when Sean and I got back together with Taking Back Sunday in 2010, and so we were on Warner Brothers still, or they were on Warner Brothers, I guess, and we were joining that. And really every other time in my experience with making records, like generally you get some like suggestions here and there from people at the record label, but nothing like too intrusive. But when we were making that record, we had to make some very definite decisions where the A&R guy was saying, like, I think you should do this, even coming down to like what the order of the song should be. And that was the only time I had that kind of stereotypical interaction with a record label. We even had it to a point where like we had the guy sitting down with us and saying, well, it was around that time that CeeLo song, Fuck You, was really popular. And he was just like, you guys should just write a song like that, like your version of that. Like, this is while we're in the studio. We've been in the studio for like 2 months writing and recording. And then that was his like big advice, you know, like just do like your version of that. Like, well, I don't even know what that means. And also that sounds like a bad idea. Like, and we didn't really, we had to just basically resist that whole thing very actively, because it would have been easy to sort of follow. He also suggested we just re-record Tell All Your Friends, which is amazing suggestion from someone at the record label while you're working on a new album. How about you just re-record like the one that people really like and forget about this new stuff you're working on. But
oh my goodness.
Anyway, yeah, that was the most that I've experienced that. But that is one thing I think too that people sometimes don't think about when they think about record labels interfering, is that as a band, you always have the choice to listen to them and do what they want you to do or not do it. You know, like I think that there tends to be this sort of I don't know, cliche that the record label interfered and made it this way, or tried to, or made the management, somebody made the band do this thing. And it's just, in real life, if you're the band, you're in charge, so it's up to you. You know, it's like, yeah, you can get pressured by these people to do stupid things or make bad decisions, but ultimately it's your call, right? You know.
So we have a little emergency. There's a lizard in my house right now, and Amanda keeps popping in the room and asking me, like, please get him out of here.
You have 2 cats.
I know. I was like, just get shrimp, but then I feel bad for the lizard. So I'm gonna break away for just a second and remove this lizard safely from the house, and I will be right back.
All right. Okay. Thank you.
Enjoy Hank's company.
Hank.
Hank.
That was really cute. That was really cute.
Hi, Hank.
John, what is your pick?
I'll get going on mine. This was the first thing literally that I thought of when we talked about this topic, is because this is, to me, such a bizarre scenario that we're dealing with here. So the album I picked is Full Moon Fever by Tom Petty. And let me just go down the track listing a little bit for you here, because this is kind of crazy. So it starts off with Free Fallin'.
Yep, which I love.
One of the best songs maybe ever of the past 30, 40 years. Won't Back Down, second song. This is almost like Tom Petty greatest hits. Listing what's on it. Love Is a Long Road, which is not necessarily a big single, but I feel like most people will be familiar with that one. Facing the Crowd is fourth, which again, I feel like, I don't know. I was always very familiar with those songs, even though they weren't big hits. But then you got number 5, Running Down a Dream.
Love it.
Great song.
Love it.
Feel a Whole Lot Better. 6th song. Probably feel a whole lot better when you're gone. And then You're So Bad. The 7th song. This is the 7th song. Again, not sure how much of a big hit these couple ones were, but I feel like anyone who knows Tom Petty, it's like, yeah, great Tom Petty songs. Then we go on to Depending on You, which is, maybe a little bit less familiar, but still a great song. the apartment song is one of those where that's a little bit of a, it's fine. That's the first one I would say on the album where you're kind of like, oh, okay, that's like a normal song that I'm not that happy or angry about. And then number 10, we got All Right for Now, which I'm not sure if you're familiar with that song. You guys know that song at all?
I don't know that one.
I'm sure I've heard it.
You might know it if you heard it, but it's this beautiful song, and it's a mostly acoustic track, almost like a lullaby, and
Oh
it's
wow!
just such
Is it kind of a? Is it like I'm not familiar with this album or the song, but is it like a Something's in the Way kind of?
a little bit. I
Okay,
mean, like
okay.
where it's like you would feel like the album is over. now,
Yeah.
Where you're like,
Yep.
okay, we've got a beautiful acoustic song to close out this great collection of songs, and it's so good, and so then there's one more. There's a song 11, Mine with a Heart of Its Own, which that's the second one where it's a little bit like, okay, that's a song. And honestly, I mean, it should be over at track 10 with All Right for Now, where you got this beautiful acoustic song. But then for some reason, even after track 11, they bring it back to a song called Zombie Zoo.
Which sounds like an amazing phenomenon.
Sounds like some weed was smoked in the making of that song.
Sure.
Somebody really just dropped the ball, I feel like. It's just not a good song. It's way down on like my list of Tom Petty songs. And maybe part of it is that you're comparing it to basically he's written an album that's like half of it is greatest hits. So then anything that's not on that level is, you are going to be critical of. But the Zombie Zoo song is so...
Every time you say it, it sounds ridiculous.
It is ridiculous.
More and more ridiculous.
I'm reading the lyrics. Is it about a prostitute?
I'm not sure what he's talking about.
Not about a zombie. If it's not about a literal zombie zoo, I'm going to be really disappointed.
So I'll read some of it. All down the street, they're standing in line with white lipstick and one thing on their mind.
That's a zombie zoo.
With the lunch pail purse. Underneath the paint, you're just a little girl dancing at the zombie zoo. But my interpretation of it is he was looking at sort of like goth punk kids, like going into a club. That was what, I mean, based on like the white lipstick and the lunch pail purse.
I read it, like the more I read these lyrics, because I've heard the song and just never paid attention, but like she disappears at sunrise. I wonder where she goes until the night comes falling on down again. You show up with your friends half alive. I mean, the first half sounds like he could be talking about like a prostitute.
Yeah.
But
he calls her a little freak. Hey, little freak. That's fucking mean.
And this came out in 1989.
Yeah, 1989. This is Full Moon Fever, which is...
So I mean, the goth scene was kind of relevant back then, maybe early stages.
Well, especially if you think about like The Cure and some of those other bands who were sort of popularizing the gothy look, and then there was an underground. I actually don't know. I'm totally interpreting it on my own, but it really does. Whatever he's talking about, he sounds like an old man complaining about something that young kids are doing, basically.
He says, you look like Boris Karloff and you don't even care.
Wait, is that an actual lyric? I stopped paying attention. I stopped paying attention when you put Boris Karloff in your lyrics.
It's in there.
Is that a real? Because I actually just made a note to listen to this song, but you're telling me that the name Boris Karloff appears in the lyrics? All right, I'm out. I'm
out. Mike Baby's out.
Yep, I'm done. I don't want to hear this song.
Well, what he leads into the Boris Karloff line by saying,
it doesn't matter.
Okay, it doesn't matter. It's just like, how do you how do you make such a great album of like unbelievably, like almost flawless songs, and then decide to close it out with Zombie Zoo? It just, it's mind-boggling. It really just, I don't understand. And the first thing I thought of, it's like, it reminds, if like a pitcher was pitching a perfect game, like no hits, no strikeouts, and then had like 2 outs in the 9th inning and gave up like 3 home runs in a row or something, where it's just
The
like,
pitcher.
how,
And the
yeah,
relief pitcher. To the
So
pitcher.
every time the
just
Mets are in the
the same
playoffs,
pitcher who would pitch a perfect game just got to the very end and was just like,
Okay.
somehow gave up 3 home runs in a row. Like, it just, I don't know how that happens.
it's the Mets. That's why.
Yeah. And Tom Petty's not, as far as I know, was never a Met, but it's a very Met-like move to put out an album full of perfect songs
Mhm.
and then just at the very end completely blow it.
So funny.
So
I
that's
didn't realize that Zombie, what is it? Zombie Zoo.
Zombie Zoo.
I didn't realize that Zombie Zoo was on the same album as Free Fallin', because fans of the show would know that I'm a big fan of songs about Los Angeles, and Free Fallin' might be one of, if not the best Los Angeles song of all time. And I feel like Zombie Zoo is probably also a song about Los Angeles.
probably.
Yeah,
I don't know if it's
I would imagine.
as eloquently composed as Free Fallin'. I don't know. It's disheartening.
I want to listen to that album now.
Yeah, me too. I'm really
Can't
excited
wait.
to listen to it, but it sounds horrible.
The album is so good. And honestly, like, if you just put on Zombie Zoo on its own, you just kind of be like, oh, okay, this is sort of a not
It's
great
fine.
song. It's not like it's shockingly terrible. It's just the context of
With
how
the rest of
good
the album,
rest
right?
of the album is. And also how easy it would be to just leave that song off. Just like, why not just leave that off? Make that a B-side. Just don't put that on the out. We don't need a 12th song.
Yeah.
11
We
is
don't
pretty
even really need an
reasonable.
11th song. You just closed it out with this beautiful acoustic number on song 10. Let's just quit while we're ahead, Tom.
He
like
was
the
pushing
master-
40 minutes at that before that song. It was about
Yeah.
36 minutes. So I mean, that's a good.
He's like one of
Solid.
the chillest. Like he gives off such a chill vibe, and then he just starts shitting on 17-year-olds at the end of the album, calling them freaks
Yeah.
for their
Metaphorically.
self-expression.
Metaphorically.
Yeah, he's calling them freaks, and they're just expressing themselves and they're finding who they are, and he's just like, no, you're freaks.
It sounds like it's his
Not chill.
"Get Off My Lawn" song.
It
Yeah.
totally is. It totally is. It reminds you for 1 minute that Tom Petty was just a middle-aged man from Florida.
That's amazing.
And I don't want to be reminded of that because
No.
in my mind he's like something much more mystical and amazing than that. But then when I hear that song, I'm like, oh yeah, you're a 40-year-old guy from Florida.
That's like it's somewhat the same but different. Like I'm a huge Prince fan, and there's that huge mystery around him and all that. He's very reclusive and everything. And then there was I think within like a few months before he passed away, there was a picture circulating around like the tabloids of him just riding his bike to CVS to get his prescriptions. And I'm like, I don't want to see that.
That's awesome. That's awesome.
Yeah.
It's a fantastic picture. He's like just him and his big fro riding his bike with a CVS prescription bag, and
Gotta see that.
it's great.
Yeah.
Good pick.
Well, hey, thanks. I felt good about it. It was literally, I didn't think about this at all. It was the first thing that popped into my head because that song has always bothered me about
Mhm.
Tom Petty's catalog. It's just always kind of stuck out to me.
That's
I'm
one of my
gonna-
favorite moves. I think we've talked about this on the show, but I know we've talked about it on the text thread. But I love when bands will end an album with an uncharacteristically acoustic or slower song. I know you guys do it with Nothing at All, which I loved. And by the way, I would say Nothing at All is the secret best Taking Back Sunday song. But Nirvana did it with Something's in the Way, and Pearl Jam did it twice in the same album with Oceans and the other one, which I can't remember the name of. But I
Release,
love when.
right? Was Release the last
Yeah,
song?
yeah. Release me. I love when bands do that. I love when bands. That's a class
Yeah.
move. More bands
great.
should do
Me
that.
too.
It's like the end of a story. It's
Yeah.
great.
Bush did it with Alien. I'm a huge Bush fan. Say what you will, but yeah, I love that move. That's a good move. More bands should incorporate that.
Go out on that beautiful low key number. You know, like just let it be.
That was the Beatles.
All right, Greg. That's right. Sorry, I forgot.
My
What
pick
do you
is
got, Greg?
probably going to be a little controversial with John.
Ooh.
I feel like he might have
Uh-oh.
some words with me about this. This album came out in 1971 on RCA Records. It is a 10-track album, and it's Harry Nilsson Schmilsson.
Wow.
All right.
Right? Yeah, that's.
He's already pissed, I could tell.
I'm excited.
No, I'm not. I'm going over in my head immediately the track listing because it's not a perfect album. So there's definitely a misstep in there, and I'm interested to see which.
Track 1 is Gotta Get Up. Great song.
Love that song.
Love it. It's a great opener. Fantastic. Driving Along. Great song. Early in the Morning. Love it. It's funny. The Moonbeam song.
So
Great. Down.
Yep.
Great. And that's side 1 because I always listen to it on the record player because it's
Yeah.
funner. So then I flip it to side 2. This is a cover song, and it's Without You. And
Oh my God, is that your pick?
and that is my pick.
It's the cover of the popular
Wow.
Motley Crue song.
I
Cover.
I do not like. It's not so much I don't like the song itself, like lyrically, but I don't like him doing it. But then he comes right back with Coconut, and you can't go wrong with Coconut.
Such a good song.
Let the Good Times Roll. Jump Into the Fire is probably one of the greatest
Jump
songs.
into the fire. Is
When is Jump Into the Fire? Is that like 8?
That's
8 or
number
9?
9.
What is that? Okay.
Number 9 and 10 is I'll Never Leave You. Jump Into the Fire is great because number 1, it's a fantastic scene in Goodfellas. LCD Sound System does a ridiculous cover of it. But my pick of, I'll listen to the album in full, but whenever Without You comes on, I just get so bummed. And I know it's a very popular song that people have covered, like the original writers of that song were
Well, he did not write that song, right?
no, he did not.
Yeah.
Who was it?
Which is weird because he did a few songs like that where
It was there's a band called Badfinger that wrote it. But like several people have covered it, like
yeah,
Mariah Carey.
it's one of his most
most
known
popular songs, which is crazy because it's just not good.
Yeah.
I don't know if it's just the way his voice and how high it gets. And the first time I heard it, I was like, it doesn't make sense that it's here in this middle of this great album. It slows it down so much. So much.
You know, I'm actually I wouldn't argue with you too much on this one. It's a great song, and I think that whenever I'm listening to it at home, it's definitely a moment where kind of the record is moving along, and it's got that Paul Simon thing of like it's on in the background, it feels good, you like what's happening. And then I do agree that when it gets to Without You, it kind of demands your attention in a way that you don't really want it to. It's like,
exactly.
Yeah, if I'm cooking in the kitchen, I don't necessarily want to have like, okay.
You're crying in your sauce. It doesn't.
Yeah, it's a bit much, but it's weird though, because like I said, it's I think undeniably a great song, but yeah, it does stand out on the record as sort of a weird moment.
I don't think I would like it more probably if it was the last track.
Mm-hmm.
That would be a good ending.
Yep.
for the album. But to go from, let me just see
Totally agree with that.
to go from, where is it? Down, then Without You, then into Coconut. It's just like, what the fuck?
Yeah.
And Coconut's a fantastic song. I love it so much. That's a good cookout song too. If I'm
Oh.
going back to another episode,
Nice.
because you have
Jump
to put the
into the
lime
fire.
in the coconut.
Yeah,
Great
mix
call.
it all up. Jump Into the Fire is one of my favorite songs of all time.
It's so good.
It really is.
So
If you
good.
need to get a party started, you just put on Jump Into the Fire.
Mhm.
I mean, don't do it literally. Put the song on. Don't literally do that. Just put
Don't
the
jump
song
to the
on.
fire.
Yeah, I mean, you can if you want to. I don't know how crazy of a guy you are, but
I don't know how psyched your friends would be if you did.
right.
I
Yeah.
do feel like Goodfellas really put that song up, or like really cranked that song up a notch, and then also brought it to a lot of people's attention. Whereas that might have just been an album track, but the way they used it
Oh,
just made everyone kind of take notice.
Well, I can
Whenever
chime in here from a guy who hadn't seen Goodfellas before you introduced me to that album. I had no exposure to that song before you exposed me to it. So I had no idea that was a Goodfellas song. I love it. I love it. So that'd be like if you went into, like, if you've never seen Reservoir Dogs and you heard Stuck in the Middle with You. You're like, oh, man, that's a phenomenal song. And then you see Reservoir Dogs, and then you get on the internet and find out that that's a song that's related to a classic film scene from 1993. You're like, Jesus Christ, I didn't know that I've been.
It's like the Pixies with Where Is My Mind and Fight
from
Club.
Fight Club. Exactly.
I never knew that song until I saw the movie, and I was like, oh, this is a great song. And then it blew up.
The building.
Not that the Pixies weren't big, but I wasn't into the Pixies back then.
Well, and also bringing up Reservoir Dogs is not quite as iconic, but the movie ends and it cuts right to Coconut by Harry Nilsson.
Yeah. It's on the soundtrack. It's on Reservoir Dogs soundtrack. That song is.
Yeah, but and it's weird because even though it's played over the credits, I feel like the way he used it is just so insane because it's this like big climactic ending, and then it's just like it's just it's not the song that I feel like most people would choose to follow up that dramatic.
No, but that's his thing though. That's Tarantino's thing. And I think and Reservoir Dogs is what made it his thing. That was the first example of that. And then he just kind of ran with that.
Very true.
There you go.
Yeah, I think that's a good call, even though I wouldn't, I can't argue.
All right, Mike, go.
Am I the last one to go? All right. So my pick. Okay. So first of all, this is not my pick. But I'm very enthusiastic in saying that if you take the song "Look Away" from Hootie and the Blowfish Cracked Review, you would have a perfect album. And I would even go as far to say that if you were to take the song "Look Away" from Hootie and the Blowfish Cracked Review, you would have the greatest dad album of all time, even taking over Paul Simon Graceland. I think that's the one weak point. And if you take that song out, you've got the perfect album. But that's not my pick. My pick is Nirvana In Utero. I feel like I talk about the same thing over and over, but In Utero has a lot of bullshit that doesn't need to be there. And it was funny when I was a kid in around 1992, 1993, like the three biggest arguments were like, who was the hottest girl, the Cherry Pie video girl or the Rock the Cradle of Love video girl? Who could win a fight, Steven Seagal or Jean-Claude Van Damme? And who was the better band, Nirvana and Pearl Jam? And so the first album was head to head, and it was just personal opinion. It was some people are going to say Nirvana based on their mental stability. Some people are going to say Pearl Jam based on their musical proclivities. But then when the second album came out, so when In Utero came out and Versus came out, that was just and when I say better album, for the purpose of this discussion, I'm talking about a more widely accepted album by a wider audience, and Versus absolutely took that victory. But for the people who were big into Nirvana, I think In Utero hit harder. I've tried to talk about this on previous episodes, and it's very hard for me to explain, but I feel like In Utero resonated with people who are more diehard Nirvana fans, but Versus had a more widespread fan base. But there was a lot of bullshit on In Utero that was just a lot of distorted guitar that could have been removed. And I don't think it needed to be there. So if they wanted to, if Nirvana, and I've got a suggestion. I don't know if Kurt Cobain is listening to this, but I have a suggestion on how you could.
I'll call you after, but I have some bad news.
Wait, what do you mean?
I'll talk to you after.
What do you mean? Is this related to my topic?
No, you can.
No. Well, you should probably talk about it later. But you know how Nirvana hasn't put out any music for a while?
Yeah. Well, they've been busy. There's
a reason. Greg will tell you.
Okay. All right. Well, get in touch with me later. But Kurt Cobain, if you're listening to this, I know you're a fan, you can maybe just shoot me a message on Instagram. But there's a lot of bullshit that you could have taken out of that album. And I'm looking at my notes here, and there's a song called there's a song, a lot of it is just guitar distortion and screaming. And so you can I'm talking about In Utero, you can drop Senseless Apprentice. Although I listened to that song today in looking for songs that you could drop.
It's real good, man.
I've had it stuck in my head since, so I kind of like it. Maybe leave Senseless Apprentice.
Yeah.
You can drop Very Ape. You can drop Milk It. You can drop Radio Friendly Unit Shifter. There's a song called Tourette's that's just guitar and screaming, but I kind of like that one. You can maybe leave that one in. And I want to, okay, hold on. So I'm going to go into my recommendations of how you can make.
Well, now you're chopping down a lot of the record, though.
Yeah. No, we're not. Now I'm about to rebuild. But here's my suggestions on how you can make it better. If they would have taken In Utero, dropped those 4 songs that I said, and then added I Hate Myself and I Want to Die from the Beavis and Butthead soundtrack, if they would have taken that out of that and put that in Utero, and if they would have put You Know You're Right, which was a song that was written by Kurt Cobain in 1991. He wrote it for.
I don't like it.
You don't like it? You Know You're Right?
I don't like it. I remember when they
put
it out on the
that
radio
song so much, but imagine.
I remember it came on the radio and I was so excited, and I was just like, okay, I understand why this wasn't.
But imagine if it came out in Utero. That would have been a game changer. That was a hit. That song was a hit. If you would have put that out in Utero, it would have been a single. No question. I'm very passionate about that, is why I'm yelling right now.
Okay, it's okay. I
don't like it?
I don't like it. I remember
what don't you like about it? It's amazing.
I don't know. I just remember first impression, I heard it and I was just like, oh man. This is it. This is the last song I'll ever hear. You know, this is the last
song you'll ever hear?
By him.
So on your deathbed?
That's what's gonna play? That's the last newer song, unreleased song I would hear.
Well, Joe, don't you think that maybe that was because I feel like for me it was overshadowed by the fact that it was released years after Kurt Cobain was dead, and it was
sorry, Mike. Sorry.
It's like, oh, here's the new single from Nirvana, 5 years after Kurt Cobain is dead. And so I do kind of agree with Mike, at least from my perspective, that if that had come out not under that circumstance, I would have listened to the song differently.
Yeah, that's true. But under that weight, it completely reshapes the song.
So it was weird. I felt like they did that big push. I don't know what it was, in early 2000s or
2002.
something.
It was 2002. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. There's all these new Nirvana songs or something, and it was sort of I don't know. Also a little bit ghoulish that they're trying to capitalize. I felt as a Nirvana fan, I was being like taken advantage of like,
Yeah.
oh hey, like why don't you buy this box set now?
Yeah, that was a shitty album. That
Why don't you
greatest
buy
hits
Kurt
album.
Cobain's diary that like he never
Yeah.
wanted anyone to see, and it
Yeah,
just
fuck
felt
up.
weird.
So if you would have put out
But anyway.
I Hate Myself and Want to Die, and You Know You're Right on In Utero, and taken out all that bullshit guitar distortion, then I think you would have had a discussion which is better, Versus or In Utero. But since they put all that bullshit out there, I think In Utero was the clear second place to Versus. But, and I've said this like on multiple episodes we've had, so I'm going to try to articulate it in a way better than I have in previous episodes. Basketball. I don't know. Are you guys familiar with basketball?
The game?
Yes.
I am.
Greg, are you familiar with basketball?
Yes, I did a report on it in 4th grade.
Okay. Basketball is a sport that I really don't enjoy, but I have a lot of friends who love basketball, and I've listened to them debate about who is the greatest basketball player of all time. And
Larry Bird.
Well, yeah, it always comes back to Larry Bird, Magic Johnson, Michael Jordan, Kobe Bryant, LeBron James, etc. But I was listening to a debate at one time, and somebody said Shaquille O'Neal. And Shaquille O'Neal is absolutely the worst basketball player of all time. But, well, okay, well, hold on. But he averages 30 to 40 points a game by just standing under the net and dunking it. So I feel like Nirvana In Utero is kind of the same thing. I don't know if it's the best album in the world, but having those songs on their album is Nirvana's. Gosh, I'm fucking it up again. But
It's the equivalent of Nirvana standing under the net and dunking it.
Yeah, it's Nirvana's brand. Like, it's not Versus is clearly a better album, but Nirvana including these songs on their album is so Nirvana's brand that it makes it a better album than Versus. I don't know if I'm doing a good job of communicating that point, but it's not an, oh God, I'm gonna stop. But is this resonating with anybody? I feel like John might kind of get what I'm saying.
I feel like I know what you're talking about, and I think part of it is that if you left off the songs from In Utero that you're talking about, you get a much more listenable, enjoyable album, maybe, you know?
Yes.
But that was very clearly not what Nirvana was after. You know, like they knew they could give people what they wanted after Nevermind, and they chose to be aggressively difficult, I think, is the thing, you know? Like, so you got to give them a lot of respect for that. It's like they're at the top of their game. Everybody loves them. And they're like, you know what? We're going to put like 4 or 5 songs on this album that are very hard to sit through. So it's like you give them respect for that. But at the same time, are you going to put that on, or are you going to put Versus on? And probably if you just want to listen to a collection of good songs, you're going to put Versus on.
That was beautifully put. That was so much better than I put it. And that's exactly what I was trying. That's exactly what I was trying to say. Exactly what I was trying to say. So thank you.
And it's a weird thing though, too, because Pearl Jam was also being more difficult with their second album than their first. They kind of aggressively made their album more raw sounding, less produced. They put some more weird, noisy songs on it, and they just didn't go quite as far as Nirvana did. And right. But you know, when you compare Versus to 10, is very compact, it's very produced, it's very like, here's a collection of songs that are you know, radio friendly, and then Versus is a lot more challenging and a little more all over the place. But Nirvana just went so far the other way that they made Pearl Jam look safe, while Pearl Jam was still challenging the idea of what they could do too.
Yeah, dude, you put it so much better than I did. And if you listen to like Nirvana, was it Sliver? Is that the name of the album that came out like with the black and white cover? Like that one, that's one of my favorite Nirvana albums and it's so like gritty and raw. And I feel like In Utero tried to be that, but it was so overproduced that it didn't have that same effect. I feel like they're like, we're going back to kind of who we were before Smells Like Teen Spirit, but it just was so overproduced that the effect was kind of lost. I don't know. I think In Utero could have been great.
Yeah.
And there's a lot of people that you're going to talk to that are going to say that it was great. They're going to disagree with me, but a lot of that is just noise.
Yeah. It's mostly great, I think, because they so definitively said they were just
right. Exactly.
You have to blur that out, John.
I know.
God, that's so funny.
Sorry, guys. What is I literally could talk about this for
this is my favorite
hours.
topic.
Yeah.
My favorite topic.
And I know I can tell already that it's getting boring. But yeah, I could talk about Nirvana and Pearl Jam and their first two albums and their different approaches to music for literally hours. It
really is.
Still
it's
fascinating.
It's the greatest dichotomy. Those first two albums, man. Anyway, I'm gonna stop.
Nice. Well, this was fun.
It was fun. How you doing, Joe?
I survived.
You look like you're ready to fall asleep.
Dude, I am. Oh man, like I'm looking at my screen and it just started.
That was your one oh man moment. It was when you were about to fall asleep.
Yeah, like I'm looking at the Wikipedia for Nilsson Schmilson, and the words were like bouncing around at one point. I'm in a weird space in my head right now from my COVID shot too. So I'm definitely ready for a little nappy.
Yeah, you earned it.
I earned it.